This is the Halftime Show with Omar Adori on Pulse 95.
It sure is that time. It's the Halftime Show with Omar Adori. I'm your host, covering everything sport, international and local. Hope you're having a blessed day wherever you're tuned in around the world, whether it's 95 FM, pulse95radio.com, our app, Sharjah Broadcasting Authority, or if you're chilling at home watching us live on YouTube. Hope you're having an incredible day. And listen, what we have in store for you today, the Ramadan special obviously happened about a week ago now. We're going into Ramadan quite deep. But how have athletes been affected by Ramadan? The holy month of Ramadan is truly underway. And how have the athletes been affected by training, fueling, and recovering? We take a look at some of the athletes who are fasting and competing on the world stage. Now, as for us, what are you doing for iftar? How are you fueling? Are you sleeping well? Are you oversleeping? Are you undersleeping? Some people tend to stay up. And what are you missing the most? Is it the morning coffee? Is it a regular schedule or a regular routine as well? That lunchtime or early morning training session? A roundup of the local sports of the UAE as well coming up on the only place to be at 3, the Halftime Show on Pulse 95.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Adori on Pulse 95.
Yes, we are live, and we are live here in the heart of Sharjah on Pulse 95 Radio. Thank you very much for tuning in and spending your time with me on the hour every Monday, Wednesday and Saturday, 3 to 4, talking all the latest about mental health, gut health, how the brain affects the body and all that good stuff. So thank you so much for connecting with us today. All right, so seeing there is Ramadan, some people are fasting, some people aren't, but the holy month of Ramadan has that kind of vibe about it. So how we're going to do this today is I'm going to ask you, I'm going to throw this round to you guys. What are you doing for Ramadan? Are you training before iftar? Are you training after iftar? Are you training at all? Maybe you're taking a break. There's nothing wrong with that too. But what are you doing at the moment? And with that, not only comes the training, but hand in hand comes the food. And when it comes down to that, if you're spending the whole day thinking about it, when it comes down to it, the body rejects or receives in a certain way where that affects the rest of your day. So we're talking about how you're fueling, and whether it's a small meal or whether it's a big meal or whether even it coincides with the training that we spoke about. Now, apart from that, sleep and recovery are essential as we talk about in Reset. So we are saying the difference now is you get to notice the domino system is so effective regardless of what month it is. The blessed thing about being here in the UAE is you get a chance to kind of soak up the energy and also the nice kind of feeling about it. Kind of work on yourself and don't worry about what's happening next to you. So that's what we're talking about there. Have you struggled with a plan? Maybe sometimes people take like a week to kind of get into it and kind of see how they feel. And that's also okay, because especially if you haven't been fasting during the year, such as intermittent fasting, dry fasting, then your body will be shocked, and that is also okay. But what are you missing the most? Here's one for you guys. And sometimes people are surprised with this. Is it just the regular sleep? Is it, waking up for prayers, for example, knowing that Fajr, is in the morning around 4:30, so you have to kind of be up before then? Or is it the morning coffee? That's another thing for those people that, have to have the morning coffee. Or maybe you have it, but you have it later on after you break fast. Is it the water? Is it the hydration? See, there's so many factors here now where I know you're going to enjoy this segment. So I'm kind of throwing it your way. Last year, I chose to experiment with a few things. What did I do last year? Because I have clients that I train and they normally like to train just before iftar, that meant, what would I do with my own training? Would I use that as an excuse to kind of get out of it? Maybe for 1 or 2 days, but I couldn't get away with that for the rest of the month. So last year, I experimented with training at 3 a.m. Now, you might think that's crazy, and yes, it might be a little bit crazy, but the whole point of that was to be able to train while I can still stay hydrated and not have to worry about it mentally throughout the day. Here's the thing. Sometimes when people choose to train before iftar, it actually weighs on your mind. We've spoken about mental fitness before, but see, all that comes with having a plan, listening to your body and listening to your mind. Sometimes you might not want to train, and that's okay. But most of the times, having a structured plan really helps kind of dictate the flow and also the rhythm that you have when it comes down to training in the month of Ramadan. So the last year, I tried with the 3 a.m. and yes, it was successful last year. This year, I thought, you know what? Let me try and switch it up a little bit. And obviously with the help of a lot of my community, whether it's my boxing community, whether it's the high beams lot as well today, they were awesome as well. Whatever it was helping me to kind of put everything in plan and still be able to work without having to stress about when am I going to have time to do this. Because let's let's face it, folks, time is one of the most precious things you have. And so most of the time we hear that we don't have enough time in the day. And so that's why the thought process in planning something and putting things together really counted for a lot for me. So let's take in your comments right now. Qasim says, train depending on how your body works and reacts with the time and food drink intake. Prefer breaking fast, small food, lots of water, rest, workout, and munch after the rest. Works for me. I like that, Qasim. That's good. Bilal, not missing anything, to be honest. Loving the vibes. Thank you very much, Bilal. Almas, I have to sleep a lot due to my crazy schedule. Absolutely. When you study in the US. Amal says she misses water 100%. Lara and Sophia jump in the room. Bilal, training at 12 a.m. At night till 2 a.m. Bilal's a boxer, so I'm not surprised at all. Working out 1 hour before breakfast or eat a day and get to it. Both work, but working out before iftar at least kills time a bit and makes the hour go fast. I like that, Amal. Yes, 100%. Shakib is in the room as well. Almas, small meal, water, fruits, or watery fruits, yogurt, train, drinking lots of electrolytes, and a big meal. I like that. Omnia saying she misses sweets. Almas is in the house. Great workout found by Riddick. Rashid says it depends how is the workout. Don't worry, Rashid, I'll be nice to you today, but not. Let's make sure we look after you and everyone else who's tuned in here. Thank you very much. AJ saying struggling to get enough sleep. Yeah, you know what, AJ, I kind of feel the same as well. I'm trying to work around getting a normal plan. Actually, what's helped me, AJ, is a lot of the apps, the applications and stuff like that. I've been doing a lot of that kind of stuff. So tracking food, as much as you might think it takes time, listen, you got the time in Ramadan. So I'm tracking food and tracking training, and I think that's been a key thing for me. Maybe you should try it. Sophia, playing football while fasting makes me forget all about my roza. Bilal, what time do you train in Ramadan? Omar. Okay, Bilal, to be honest with you, here's what I've been doing. I've been kind of mixing up a little bit. I haven't really stuck to everyday same training. So depending if I have clients that I'm coaching or I'm training, then I'll have them on certain days. However, I've tried everything at the moment. Today, for example, I trained just before I came in for an hour, did that, and then came into the radio because I have clients around iftar time. So I kind of have to give priority to them. Tonight is football. I play football tonight. Tomorrow I'm resting. And by the way, guys, don't think you gotta go every single day, because let's focus on volume rather than just trying to get in numbers. Think about what you're doing. Think about what makes you feel good. Think about the energy that's around you. Think about the, what you're giving back to the universe is so key to be able to kind of have that right balance. So, I personally think it all depends on who is around you and who you're training with and what makes you happy, rather than just going for the sake of going. Sometimes we go there and our mind's not with it, and all of a sudden you get lifted by who's around you. So, on Fridays I train in the morning, RBO and stuff, and people, they might feed off my energy, but I feed off their energy too. Especially when you're fasting, it's kind of tough. But like I said, stick at it, do what's best for you, and really work with it. You know what I mean? Like, it's so key to be able to just flow with it. Let it rhyme, let it go, and that's kind of key in Ramadan. And listen, by the way, when Ramadan stops, it don't mean you have to stop. You can still keep going, still watch out on what you eat, and still watch out on how you're recovering. But it's just a nice way to reset. And that's how I'm going to end this segment. But listen, text me on 4215 Ittasalat or slide into my DMs at Omar Duri and let me know what's working for you, and let's share it with people. I'll be right back after this. I'm playing a little bit of Daniel Caesar, and I'll see you in a bit. Here you go, guys.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Adori on Pulse 95.
It sure is that time. It's the Halftime Show. We're in a good mood today. We chilling, we vibing together as well. It's the Ramadan special, so you're going to have to bear with me if I'm not up to the usual energy, as Omnia Saleh calls them, Future Dog, bouncing off the walls. I'm trying to be nice and chill today, just to kind of match the music as well on the theme. Remember, you can catch our show every Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, 3 to 4. In the Heart of Charge on Pulse 95 Radio, or even if you like our shows, head over to the YouTube. All of our shows get converted to episodes, ad and commercial free, and we have some fantastic guests. If you caught the show the other day, we had Andrew Caro, the futsal legend. He was there. on the show. Thanks for the gift, Andre, as well. And we focus on a lot of things here. It's not just about sport. It's not just about physical training. It's about mental fitness. It's about gut health. It's about mental health, and so much more. And speaking about that, obviously being the month of Ramadan, we've had a lot of people kind of drop their comments in right here. Shakib came up with a really nice one. Let's just scroll through all the amazing, beautiful messages you guys have sent through. Training after Taraweeh. The day is completed, and there can't be any more distractions after. It's ideal both mentally and physically. What I like about that, Shakib, is the mental part. I think it's so key. A lot of people talk about like physical fitness and getting yourself physically fit. I think the mental part is so important. As you know, we highlight on the show. Riddick says this Back to Black version is great. Yeah, Amy Winehouse, man, honestly great. Shaymat says she misses the show, and Sophia Qureshi drops the Pakistani flag as she's tuned in from Pakistan at the moment. Right, what else do we have here? We've got another comment saying, I am happy that Fursan have supported us. It's players and scheduled trainings after iftar. Fantastic. Hatem loves the tunes. And Dinner with Flo is dropping the cookie emojis because he heard the Omnia Salah's in the building. I also have a comment here saying, I struggle with taking it easy, not training, because consistency is important. I worry then I'm confused, lazy, and actually needing rest. Ramadan makes you tired, but line between tired and lazy. Yeah, you know what, Amal? Actually, I agree with that. I think that's so important in so many ways that we kind of get the right balance. I think balance is the key word in all this. And hey, listen, even coaches are struggling with it. So it's perfectly fine to be able to come out and speak about, the struggles you're having in, Ramadan, obviously. And that also, alhamdulillah, we're out here in the UAE. UAE is a lot more lighter than some of the countries out there who are still facing lockdown and still facing a lot of restrictions, by the way. So you kind of count your blessings, look at the mindful part of it, look at the grateful part of it, and just say, alhamdulillah, that, we're able to just kind of get out, take a deep breath, even walk on earth, walk on the surface, go to the beach maybe after prayers, and just walk barefooted, or in the garden, or just on some grass, or just on the earth itself. It's such a beautiful thing to be able to do. At the moment now, I'm looking across the world and I'm thinking, the other day the Champions League was happening for those football fans, and you must have seen people like Sadio Mane, Mohamed Salah playing, and Liverpool getting knocked out of the Champions League. But also thinking about how a lot of the things when it comes down to our priorities, and those incredible world star athletes are actually, fasting and still, training and playing competitively. You saw in Turkey, there was, they took a time out, the team, just to break their fast. That melts my heart sometimes, because just, at the end of the day, they're still humans. They might be larger than life on the screen, but when it comes down to it, they're still humans. There's still an internal part to what they go through. And I admire that. I think that's why sometimes when people ask me, like, how can you fast and train? I just think of the people that have to do this on a regular, that don't have, the things that we have, the food or the access to water as often as we'd like to. Here, alhamdulillah, we could just turn around and just grab ourselves some water, obviously, when it's not Ramadan, or even after fasting. They don't have that time slot, though. They don't have that time where, okay, guys, time to eat, time to drink, let's go. So this is kind of why I always think that, the mental aspect is so important, and I have so much respect for the athletes that are still competing at the highest level. Sheikha jumps in the room and she says, what are we talking about today? What's the topic of the day? Right, the topic of the day is, how have athletes been affected by Ramadan, or how have people like you and me been affected by Ramadan in terms of training, in terms of fasting, in terms of when to eat, in terms of when to drink? Are you sleeping enough? And then on the other side, is it hard to turn your body clock upside down? What I mean by that is, normally you have a window of when you can eat. So for us, for example, it's like 6:40 till 6:40 p.m., roughly 6:45 p.m. until 4:30 a.m. or 4:20 a.m. Now, when you think about it, we normally do fast when we're sleeping. So 8 hours, no one's ever going to sleep and eat at the same time, at least not that I know of. So most of the time you're going to be sleeping, so your body is going to be recovering, and that's the time where we don't eat. But the fuel that we put into our body, here's one thing that I'm going to advise to you guys. For those that maybe are struggling a little bit, maybe need a bit of help, maybe it's a little bit of guidance. Something that's worked for me, and I still struggle now, is trying to record everything down on an app. So for training, not naming which equipment I use, but for training, it tracks all your calories, it tracks, all your work and your progression. And so that would be my training. For food, being able to kind of hold yourself accountable, I think having a tracker where you actually input roughly what intake is what's going into your body, for example, calorically. Sometimes you might think that it's not that calorically dense, or even not that much, but might be surprised. So that's another thing I would say regarding the nutritional part. And then it comes down to things like meditation or things like breath work, where, I've spoken about this many, many times on the show. I've always said, guys, please, try to give it a shot. I've had the Iceman on the show before. We've spoken about it, and we've been able to mention it, all these kind of different factors where how important it is to kind of put into your own routine, your own system, and it really helps a lot. I've got another question here. Where is it? Right, yes. I'm sorry, just bear with me. Okay. How do you reset during Ramadan? Very, very good question. Well, as I was saying before, normally the first day of Ramadan, I don't train. I'll probably train twice the day before and just kind of ease myself into it. But I have been intermittent fasting for a month, 2 months prior to Ramadan. That kind of gets me into it a little bit, just to kind of appreciate, the different factors of fasting. And then when it comes down to it, listen, there will be days where I will save my calories for 2 meals instead of 3 maybe, because I don't think I need to have 3 meals, especially with the time slots. If you have to break your fast at 6:40, sometimes I have training at 7:30 or football at 9. So that's one solid meal and one, let's say, half meal or a full meal, depending on how I'm feeling. And also it comes up to how that week has gone. I think that's a very, very important thing. Everyone is different. There's no such thing as a secret formula. It comes down to discipline. It comes down to hard work. It comes down to just seeing what fits your routine. Masoud is saying fasting is resetting yourself in every aspect. That's my guy. Yes, Masoud, 100% correct. But let me know how you guys are finding Ramadan, iftar, training, fuel, nutrition, hydration, all of that and more. And we'll be right back after the break. I'm going to this time drop you, it's going to be me, cover, and sync. I think you guys might remember this. Enjoy. Here we go.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Adori on Pulse 95.
Sure is that time. It's the Halftime Show with Omar Adori. Thank you very much for tuning in. The topic of the day, as you're asking, Sheikha, is how have athletes been affected by Ramadan? How have you been affected by Ramadan? What have you been doing? The holy month of Ramadan is truly underway. And how have our athletes and our people been affected by training, fueling, and recovering? Now, we take a look at some of the athletes, obviously, who are fasting, like Mohamed Salah and Sadio Mane, as we did on the show, and competing on the world stage. Then we also look at ourselves, because at the end of the day, we are also like them. We're human, we have the same emotions and everything. But what are you doing for iftar? Are you having small meals? Are you having one large meal? Are you having a couple of meals? How are you balancing that out? And how do you feel afterwards? I think that's kind of like the key thing that I'm kind of looking into right now. How are you feeling after you've had that first meal? Are you feeling tired, lethargic? Are you feeling full of energy? Are your sugar levels back on track? Do you start with a certain way, like dates and water, or do you go for a soup, or do you just tackle the meal and munch, as Qasim said earlier? What are you guys doing? And also, what are you missing the most? Like, what is it that is it sleep? I spoke to someone earlier that said the sleep wasn't that great. Is it that morning coffee? You wake up in the morning, you just hear that morning coffee machine, Is it that? Or is it maybe training in the mornings? Because some people obviously find it quite challenging, with the training. I think there's a lot of things, happening with that kind of factor. Winaru, we love you. I love you too, Winaru, man. Great to have you in the room. Masoud, how is Ramadan going, bro? It's going well, Masoud, to be honest. Like I said, it's something that last year was very different to this year. Last year I had an approach because I didn't have the time before iftar to train myself, because I trained my clients. So I trained at 3 a.m. This year, alhamdulillah, don't have to do that. I've kind of put my training all over. And as I get to the second week, which we're approaching now, I'll start to see what worked best for me in the first week, because by then I have a good indication of how my body is responding to it. One thing I could probably improve on is the sleep. I don't think I'm sleeping that well. But saying that, we're still here. We're still sharing, the show with you guys, and you guys are fantastic, doing some great things. Masoud is saying he's feeling dehydrated. Just be careful, Masoud, to be able to actually match that up on there. Shakib says that's 2 sick back-to-back covers. We're trying. Let's go for the hat-trick, Shakib. Mainly fasting, rest your mental health and boost your spirituality, Masood says. And also, what do we have? Almas, academies really need to support the younger athletes new to fasting and training. The one-size-fits-all approach doesn't work for everyone. See, Almas, while I agree with you on that, I also think that conditioning our athletes, especially young, and giving them the choice to show up to training is key as coaches. I think it's very important for us to give the option for people to train, but also be mindful that every person is different, as you said, and also that sometimes you just have to build a habit up so then the system can get used to it. The central nervous system and the way the brain works normally through fight or flight, or even when it comes to freezing. There's many factors when it comes to the brain and how the brain works. The sympathetic versus the parasympathetic are two factors that we look at and we weigh up. When it comes down to that, when we condition our brain to be able to respond to high pressure situations under the circumstances such as fasting or even restrictions that we have with our breath work in general, we're able to condition that to a certain point to get that going. So yes, there are factors that I would say, Almas, I agree with you on that, but I also have so much respect for you for doing what you're doing and competing at the highest level, especially at such a competitive young age as you're doing at the moment now. And by the way, you played fantastic the other day as well, so well done for that. I found drinking lots of coconut water in the evening or at suhoor really helps limit the dehydration during the day. That's a great one, Masood. There's some advice for you there. Very, very good. Why? Because the electrolytes that are in the coconut water is a natural form of electrolytes that really helps stabilize the electrolyte levels, which is very, very key. So absolutely 100% correct. Okay, couple of things happening at the moment in the UAE. We've got the UAE Jiu-Jitsu stars shine with medals, which is great. The championship actually took place on the 9th of April, but we're kind of collaborating all the all the titles and what's happening at the moment. The world's best jiu-jitsu athletes took to the mats to compete for glory in purple and blue belt categories at the world's largest and most prestigious jiu-jitsu event, which is being held under the patronage of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi and Deputy Supreme Commander of the UAE Armed Forces. Now, when we were speaking the other day as well to Andre Caro, and he was telling us about the UAE futsal scene, and now you see the jiu-jitsu thing. What I love about this is just there's so much talent that we have here from all around the world that sometimes we don't have to look past that. With COVID restrictions and so many factors happening, it's restricted us from traveling, but also it makes us grateful for what we have here. You look at the people that you train with, you look at the different, gyms, the different coaches, different, ideas that we have here. The talent, the youthful talent that we have here is fantastic. And just being able to embrace that. The UAE athletes stood tall among the global elite on a fierce day of competition for jiu-jitsu stars. They captured 22 colored medals to top the country's rankings with 18,320 points. Second was Brazil in 9,560, and Russia came in third with 2,560. So just again, it tells you we've got some fantastic athletes here. We've got some fantastic places to train here. So hats off to everyone who's getting active and making a difference. Right, okay, I'm going to try and hit that hat trick with that cover now. But I'll be right back for the final segment. Keep your questions coming in, and I'll see you after the break. Enjoy.
This is the Halftime Show with Omar Adori on Pulse 95.
It sure is that time. It's the Halftime Show with Omar Adori. Thank you very much for spending your hour with me. Right, some great comments. Let's get straight into it. All right. Okay, so Masoud says, if you do summarize and make someone understand about fitness in one word, what would it be? That is a good question. I would say lifestyle. And the reason why I would choose lifestyle is because regardless of what you're doing, what your job is, what your status is, whatever it is you're doing, I think it has to be something that fits your lifestyle. You have to make it your lifestyle priority. It's got to be something that you do on a day-to-day basis rather than something that you just do for a short period of time. So I think to answer your question, Masood, I'd probably pick the term lifestyle, mainly being because we all have our own challenges, mentally, physically, emotionally, and I think that's what I would pick. Yes, I'm doing well. How's Ramadan going? Alhamdulillah, Ramadan's going well. Almas is finally listening that she should be doing more mobility. That's good. The answer is the title of your book, Reset. You know what, Shakib? I was going to say Reset, but the only thing is I didn't want it to be cheesy. So that's why I didn't say Reset. But yes, I think the reason why Reset would be fantastic to summarize Masood's question is because we all have the ability to reset. People are scared of change when it comes down to changing physically, emotionally, mentally. But when it comes down to resetting, everyone is capable of pressing that reset button, that red domino, and working on the 5 pillars in the book Reset. For those that are thinking, what is he talking about? Why does he keep mentioning that word? Reset is the book that I have published. I'm an author of a book called Reset, 5 Dominoes That Will Change Your Life. And of course, Masood and Shakib obviously have been following the Reset movement. So thank you very much. This Adhan voice gets you right in the heart and soul. You know what, Almas? It really does. It's a beautiful voice that we have here at Pulse 95 Radio, and yeah, I think that's kind of just mellowed me out. Perfect timing as we're approaching the full-time whistle on the halftime show, which there you go. But yeah, no, just giving you a quick brief of what came up today. Today we spoke about how Ramadan is affecting athletes, how it's affecting us. What are we doing in terms of training? When are we training? What type of training are we doing? That's the question I asked you guys. And also, when are you doing it? Now, that was the first part. The second part is, when it comes down to fuel is so important. And everyone, keeps talking about nutrition, but sometimes fueling the body is different to what you think you want. And then you actually have it and you think, right, I'm actually full now, but you're still going because you're used to eating. So that's another thing. But one of the most neglected dominoes in Reset is recovery. Now, that's another thing in being able to recover and actually being okay to take your foot off the gas for a short period of time. So that's regarding that. But you see, none of this would be possible without the mental fitness when it comes down to reset and recovery. And that's another thing that, in Ramadan, I think more than ever, I think we all set ourselves challenges and objectives to try and conquer throughout the year. You hear it in New Year's resolution, you hear it in Ramadan, you hear it all the time. But I think the challenge is consistency and striking the right balance. And that's the idea where being able to find what works for you, but also just trying to do one more than you did yesterday or last week is always just a progress for all of us individually. And I think in Ramadan, we all do it our own way, whether we're conscious or subconscious of it. We all kind of reset our own way, our routines, our nutrition, our mental health, our physical health, our gut health, our environment, and our recovery. And I think that's kind of key to it. But guys, we are reaching full time on the halftime show. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. I had a great time with you guys. I'm so grateful that you could spend it with me. You could be anywhere in the world right now, like in New York, like Florin, or Jersey, like Adil, or California, like Debo. But you're here with me, and I'm so grateful, and I really appreciate it. And I love you guys, and thank you so much for spending your time with me. Right, we're back on Monday. Monday's show is going to be great. We've got a specialist coming in to talk about planning your food, planning your nutrition in Ramadan, planning your training in Ramadan. When are the perfect times to do that? So we're going to have him on the show on Monday, and make sure you stay tuned. We're always live on Instagram, and if you miss the shows, don't worry, you can catch us on YouTube because all of our shows are converted to episodes, commercial and ad-free. Or if you prefer a podcast, head over to Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, and Anghami. It is me, it's full time, and I'm sending you love and blessings. Have a fantastic day. Peace and love, guys.
If you liked this episode of The Halftime Show, drop a like and subscribe.
95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.